This is the podcast for faith, mindset, and entrepreneurship. It's not about how many times you fall, but about how many times you pick yourself back up again. So get ready to hear a ton of transformations and testimonials. This is the Mommy Mindset Mentor.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mommy Mindset Mentor, where we talk about faith, mindset, self-improvement, and entrepreneurship. So today I have Kayla with me. And today we're going to be talking about mindset. We're going to talk about trauma. We're going to talk about healing. A lot of the times, you don't even realize that you're the person that you are today because of the way that you were programmed by your parents, by school, by society. And so many people have trauma without realizing it, whether it's like not having their dad in their life, whether it's parents who come from drug abuse, whether it's being sexually assaulted from a young age. And those things play into effects of like your relationships, or when you become a parent. And so we're going to talk about like self-discovery and kind of like diving deep into yourself in order to change those old programmings that are not serving you anymore. So thank you, Kayla, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Daisy. I love your videos. I watch your videos on YouTube and Instagram already. So when I seen that you wanted to interview more people, I was like, please sign me up because I would love to share and just chat with you.
Yes. So I know Kayla from Miami. We never got to like actually hang out in person, but it's been like, I feel like a year or almost 2 years. And like, we're still like, talking through social media. So I want to get to know you, like I only know you through the things that you post on social media that I love because it always has to do like with nature and like, evolving. So what kind of person were you before you started like getting into personal development?
Yeah, that's why I'm glad that I have this opportunity to not only get to know you and speak and be vulnerable on your podcast, but also I feel like when people see my Instagram or other people's Instagrams, they tend to think that life is all butterflies and rainbows. But whether it's to become a good mom or to become successful or to become at peace, these things take a lot of work. And initially, when you get there, it starts from a place that was completely opposite. And so growing up, I remember at an early age, I was pretty much just like other kids, where just full of life, full of love, and just wanting to explore the world. And I can't remember much of my childhood, but I do remember my teens where I was in a really dark place. And at this point in my life, I was very anxious to the point where I didn't really communicate with anyone around me. I didn't go to any parties. I skipped class and skipped school, but not to have fun. I skipped school because I was like, if I go into class, I'll literally have a panic attack. So I was the weird kid. Like, I hate to say it, but I was pretty much the weird kid in class that wouldn't talk. No one really heard my voice because inside of my body, I was shaking every time I would interact with people.
So why did you think that going into class would give you a panic attack?
So at the time, I didn't know what a panic attack was, but this is like me looking back at it, that I was experiencing panic attacks and I didn't know it. So basically I'll be in class, or maybe I'll be in like lunch, and someone will come up to me, or if someone talked to me, I would be like a deer in headlights. Like, I would just look at them and my whole body would start shaking. It'll be hard to speak and I almost feel like I'm getting dizzy.
Why is that?
And so, I didn't know it, but, I was pretty much scared of people. And the reason why I was scared of people was because of my upbringing and also because of my childhood. And so I did have like a loving family with my grandma, but however, when I wasn't at my grandma's house, I had a very mentally and emotionally abusive parents, my mom and my mom's husband, which is my stepdad. And me and my sister and I, we were pretty much getting bullied in home and at school, which I feel like in elementary bullying is kind of common. So most of our bullying was at home, where we weren't allowed to speak our mind. We weren't allowed to do things that we enjoyed. And if we were caught doing things that we enjoyed, my mom's husband would make it known that it wasn't acceptable. So a lot of my childhood, I had to learn that in order to be safe, I needed to pretty much close my mouth and just sit around and do nothing, or I was going to have a hard time. So I feel like unconsciously I trained myself to, like, as kids, you do what you feel is most safe. And so I gravitated towards just not being seen and not being heard, because if I did, it was going to be trouble for us. And so I took that into school, and I didn't know it back then, but I guess my body and my heart and my mind was remembering like the shame I felt, or like the physical pain that I felt, or the emotional pain that I felt growing up in that household. And so that led to me I ended up being very angry because I didn't have any friends and I wasn't able to communicate with anybody or connect with anybody. And so I basically turned on the world, where I was like, fuck everyone. I don't know if I can curse on here, but I was basically like, fuck everyone. I hate everyone. I don't want to be friends anyways. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. I don't want these people in my life anyway. So pretty much in reality, it was my problem that I couldn't communicate, and I didn't have those social skills or that level of comfortability. And I pretty much, my mind, to cope with it, I said, well, it's their fault. They're not worthy enough. And so eventually I became like an angry person, where whenever someone did try to talk to me, my defense mechanism was very mean. And a lot of the things that I learned how to treat people was actually through my mom's husband. It was like through like hateful words, through telling people they're not worthy of this, they're not worthy of that.
So verbal abuse.
Just being mean. Yeah, like just being verbally mean to people, or feeling like I'm better than people. But in reality, underneath all that anger was fear. Fear of getting close to people, fear of being rejected, fear of being like hit, fear of being talked to bad. So I would say when you have anxiety, you're like suppressing your emotions, you're repressing your emotions. So whether that's happiness, like I didn't laugh in front of people, so I kept the laughter in. I didn't cry in front of people, I kept the cries in. And so when you have all of these emotions building up for years, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, eventually it just explodes. And that's what happened to me, where I just began to explode on people in my home, explode on my family, explode on my close like cousins, for example. And so eventually the little friends that I did have, I didn't anymore, because half of them thought I was weird or awkward, and the other half thought I was a bitch. So I got to a point where I was 19 and I was living at my mom's house, and my mom's husband started saying something, and we started going back and forth. He told me that I was basically started telling me that I was worthless because I didn't want to help my sister with something. And we started going back and forth, talking about each other. And he told me that, he asked me if I had a gun, and I was like, no, I don't have a gun. So I was like, whatever, I don't need this. I went to my room, and my mom started screaming. She's like, what are you doing? She doesn't have a gun. So he basically started to get his gun and saying that he was going to shoot me and kill me. And then eventually I went to the living room and kitchen area, just to make this like go a little bit quicker. But basically we went back at it. He didn't have his gun yet, but he picked me up and he threw me. And so that's when I was like, you know what? I don't have to deal with this anymore. So after he pushed me and he threw me, I got up and I was like, I don't have to deal with this anymore. He went to his room, I guess, to pretend that he was going to get his gun, or maybe he really was. I never seen it, but he definitely vocalized it. I went to my room, and at this point, I was so alone that I was like, I already had the mindset since I was 17, since I just had so much alone time of not partying, not doing anything cool with friends, that I was going to develop my mind. So I had a lot of books. Hi, Julian. I had a lot of books already. I had a hi. He's joining the podcast. So I pretty much just went into my room. I got a bag and I put a bunch of my favorite books in there. And I was like, I don't need anything else in this house. I just want my books. I just want knowledge I'm going to learn to make me who I want to be. So I had a mix of books of like psychology. I had a mix of healing books and then some financial books because I was also into like financial education. So that's all I put in my bag. And then I got up and I never did this in my life before, but something told me just to call the police. And I know like, that's kind of like an iffy area, but I called the cops on him. They came, they arrested him. And so I ended up staying another night there. So while he was in jail. And pretty much what happened was, which is a common theme in my life and my sister's life, is my mom taking her husband's side more than she takes me and my sister's side.
Wow.
So she started telling the cops that I was lying, that I was crazy, that I was delusional, all of these things. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to live in a place where I'm going to be treated like shit. My mom's going to be treated like shit. My sister's going to be treated like shit. And then my mom's going to go around and say that we're all crazy to defend someone. Because my mom growing up, similar to you, actually, we also lived in a trailer home in Florida City until she got married to him, and then we moved in and then she bought a house and we moved in with him, and we lived there from middle of my childhood to around this time. So she was very poor. Her family was poor. She grew up with a single mother, so she always had money problems. So she has this belief that she needs to have a man in her life to support her, which in reality, it's not true. It's just a belief. These beliefs can change. Or we can change how we view money. We can change how we view life. We can change how we view love. So her defense is like, if you take him away, my little brother he's now 9. If we take her husband away, she won't be able to support my little brother. So I was 19 at the time, and that's when I decided I don't have to live like this. I can live however I want to live. And so I left and I went to a friend's college dorm, and I was sleeping in her college dorm for a few days, and she was actually my ex. So I was sleeping at my ex's house, and then I just started hopping around people's house. I went to my aunt's house, my ex's house, my best friend's house, and I was like, okay, I have nowhere to live. Let me just figure this out. And I was lucky enough to have a job that when I told them, one of my coworkers told them the situation, they gave me a few dollar raise and they made me full-time. At the time I was part-time, but they made me full-time. They gave me a $2 raise, and then I went and I applied for an apartment, and I found a roommate, and that's when I got my first apartment when I was 19. I was like, new life. I didn't talk to my family for about a few years, my sister included, because my sister also took her side, which whatever her reason is, a lot of our behaviors are unconscious and subconscious. But at that point, I was now in a new environment. And this kind of emphasizes the importance of environment. You realize, when you get out of one environment, you really realize how the people who you surround yourself with really becomes who you are. And I started to realize the way that I talk to people, the way I talk to my roommate, I'm like, wait a second. Why am I talking? Like, why am I condescending? Like, why am I like this? Like, this isn't me at my core. This isn't who I am. And so you really when you distance yourself, you really start to peel the layers back and see, like, you're not who your parents are. You're not who your environment was. You don't like this type of food. You don't like to do this and that. And so I really started to become my own person. And that's where the journey really began, when I was alone in my apartment with no parents, no money. And I was pretty much starving almost every other day. But the one thing I did have was my books. I love to read. So I say that reading basically saved my life, because I realized that there's more books that are about philosophy or healing or self-development. And it's pretty much where the journey began. I think your mic is off.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yeah.
because I had muted myself because I didn't want like Julian or to hear any background noise. That is crazy that you've been through all of that. And kind of how you were saying, like, the emphasizing on the environment is so important. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, if I could give somebody a piece of advice, besides going to school, besides going to college, I would use, if I was, well, this is what I do, but if I was like anybody else, what I would do with my money is use it to go to events, use it to go to masterminds, use it to invest in courses, and to get into rooms with people who are doing the things that you want to do. Like, that is so important. Putting yourself where you see yourself, like, connections will get you into doors that degrees sometimes can't. Like, your network, your net worth is your network. So it is so important. Like, and even like kind of like the same thing that you said, like, now that, like, at 18, like, I moved out of my mom's house and I became a mom, and now I'm in a relationship, I realized that I had a lot of relationship problems because I was acting like my mom. And my mom was very dominant. My mom was very in her masculine energy. And my man is in his masculine energy. So I'm trying to be the boss. I'm trying to tell him what to do because that's what I saw my mom do with my stepdad growing up. And now me and I hate my man, and we're always arguing because I'm like, you never listen to me. But he's like, I'm the man. Like, why are you trying to make me, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's in his masculine energy. He's not in his feminine energy. So I thought, like, man, like, I want to be with a guy who's more soft and this and that. But I realized that because I have a masculine man, that allows me to be in my feminine energy. And I learned that a lot of the times women operate in their masculine energy because they have to, out of survival, because they have to provide for themselves, they have to provide for their kids. But now being in a relationship where I don't have to be like that, now I'm learning, okay, it's okay to cook for your house. It's okay to clean. Like growing up, like my mom was like, let me teach you how to cook. I was like, no, I don't. Like, even growing up, I always saw my stepdad cooking. Like, I resented cooking, cleaning. I was like, I'd rather work a job. And then I realized, but I hate working jobs. So it's like, but then I hated being a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, why do I hate being a stay-at-home mom? And I realized it's because I was trying to like put money over being a mom, over like different things. And it's like, honestly, when you look at the bigger picture, it's like your health, your family, and your time is so much more valuable than money. They say if money is not the highest form of compensation. But give me 1 second because I need to check on the baby.
Yeah, no. She looks just like Julian.
Everyone says
like a
that,
duplicate.
But I don't really see it. I feel like she looks different than Julian, especially her nose.
A little different, but definitely you can tell that they're brother and sister.
Okay, so you told me, because I don't know, now my iPad dies so fast. I don't know why. So you talked to me about your trauma and what it was like growing up. And, a lot of the times, like in high school, people always look at the kids who are like quiet, like, oh, they're weird, they're lame. And it's like, you don't know what their living situation is like. So you said that you were able to, that reading books saved you. So what do you feel? Yeah.
Oh, no, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say, like, what do you feel like has been one of, like, your most biggest breakthroughs?
Yeah, and you're right. People often do like to label people as like the awkward one, the weird one. And even my sister or my family members will tell me that I'm awkward. It got to that point where I wasn't really able to communicate with family members. So I would have to just be in my room because I just couldn't talk. Like I just didn't know how to, and I didn't have experience with it. And my body would just start to freak out. And it was just bad. But I would say my biggest breakthrough is when I left my house, and I read this book called The Mastery of Love, and it's by a guy named Don Miguel. And he basically talks about like what is love and how people normally operate out of fear, like whether it's in a relationship or with your parents or your family or your friends. A lot of the time people think that love hurts them, but really it's fear that's controlling people. So we think like, I'll only love you if you do this, or if you do something similar to me, or if you do what I want, or if you don't cheat, or if you do things like this. And so really what I learned was what is true love and what's true unconditional love. And it's just the life that's around me, the energy that's around me. And that book goes over a lot about forgiveness and seeing how people operate out of fear through just unconscious beliefs and through what they've learned and what they've experienced. So the Toltec philosophy is something that really broke through my mind and taught me how beliefs are formed through our environment, through our parents and personality, and how it's just sitting there unconsciously and controlling our everyday moves. And it helped me to forgive myself for being awkward, and also forgive myself for being mean to people. And it helped me realize that whether I was awkward or mean or depressing, that it wasn't my fault. And that this is a very common thing that people go through, and that I'm not alone, and that there is a way out. And it helped me realize that I had a choice to create who I wanted to be, and not only financially, because most of my teenage years, I was like, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to leave my mom's house. I already wanted to leave their house. I was going to get rich, leave my mom's house, and leave my friends, since no one really fucked with me anyways. So that was my intention. But then it changed to, I'm going to create the person I want to be, because I want to be happy. I want to do the things I want to do. I want to travel. And I would say just being alone and changing my environment. And at this point, I met my ex, Grady's, and we started to go to different like meditation events and breathwork events. And just pretty much when you're meditating, it's not always about being quiet, silencing your mind. And for me, that's very hard to do. So when I sit there, a lot of thoughts come to me, and I start to have just that space away from the constant arguments and yelling and screaming and loud noises of being in my mom's home. It allowed so much new space for me to be aware of my thoughts. And so it's really good to take time out to be silent and to be alone, because you start to see who you really are. And so I started to see my real desires, my real dreams, my real beliefs. And I started to really have a lot of thoughts about the past and process them, where before there wasn't any space to process things that happened to me. So I would say right there at 19, when I left my mom's house, is when everything shifted for me. So again, like you said, changing your environment and getting out of any sort of toxic patterns, toxic behaviors, or people that hurt you, or people that maybe they don't even hurt you, but just like being around them and you becoming like them can be like destroying your life. So that was the pivotal moment for me.
Yeah, they say
it's just making space.
They say you are who you hang with, and that's why it's so important to, you know, choose wisely your friends. Like, I used to have a friend in like middle school. She's like my best friend. And, like, she would, like, smoke and steal and, like, you know, having sex with guys. And she, like, kind of, like, introduced me to, like, a lot of different things that, like, I didn't even know about, you know, like, stealing. And so I realized, like, wow, like, I even got expelled out of school because I got caught smoking weed at school. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's, like, I would have never, growing up, I never saw, like, my parents smoking or drinking. So, you know, they say hang out with five, you know, bums, you'll be the sixth. Hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth. But it's because their habits are going to rub off on you. If you're hanging out with someone who loves to go to the gym and they're constantly like prioritizing the things that they eat, now you're going to be more conscious of the food that you're eating. You know, if someone who likes to, you know, whatever the case may be, that's why it's so important, because you don't want someone to have like bad habits and for it to rub off on you. So, have there been any like how do you call it, like mental exercises you've done? Like, you know, I hear people talk about like deep work and shadow work, and like, what is that?
So deep work, I would say like my thoughts on deep work is like when you give yourself enough time to focus on a task. But when people work on like their shadow work, or maybe like kind of like healing their darkness, pretty much what they do is, because a lot of times when we're on like this awakening journey, or this journey where we finally realize that we can change our lives or we can create our lives, we think that, oh, my past is like ugly, my past is dirty, that's not who I am, and we try to run from it, or our ego makes us feel like we're better than what we used to be, or that we're not that person anymore, or we just try to basically shoo away the darkness that we once were, or that we once experienced inside of us. But in reality, you can't run from what had already happened or what was inside of you. And if you really want to get rid of these memories of like, whether it's grief or hatred or whatever these memories are of abuse, you really just have to accept it and be friends with it and work with it. Like, how can you make it to your benefit and turn it into a happier emotion? So for me, a lot of that was going out in nature and journaling and writing a lot of my thoughts down that I experienced, and also going to different plant ceremonies. And so there's a few sacred plants where they teach you, basically there's specific sacred plants that teach you about yourself, and they force you to sit down and reflect on your emotions, reflect on your life, and to think through things that you normally wouldn't think through. And so how I see it is, it takes the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind and brings it to your forefront. And so these plants are plants like wachuma and ayahuasca, mushrooms. And so I use them as medicine and a ceremonial practice where I sit down and I experience what the message is. And I would say that has helped a lot with shadow work, and also just walking alone in nature. So that has also helped me as well, where I don't play any music, I don't go on my phone, and I just kind of allow myself to be in the moment, because it's very easy, especially if you have a lot of pain in you, to want to distract yourself or to stimulate your mind, whether it's through your phone or music or just having a TV on in the corner, things like that, little sounds. I try to get rid of that as well, to allow more thoughts to come, because I remembered that when I left my mom's house and I was alone, because I was homeless, I was going from people's house to house before I got an apartment. I remember like the silence that I felt in those months. It was just like nothingness. Like I heard you hear the silence. So I remembered that once I felt the silence, all my thoughts came to me, and I realized my life, I realized my problems, and all of my ideas came to me too. So I try to relive those moments where when I'm driving, I stop listening to music and just sometimes let the silence be silence, or when I'm walking in nature, I'll let the silence be silence. So going back to silence, whether that's with sacred plants, medicines, or just intentionally while driving or taking a walk. And that allows you to see those lingering emotions that just need to come up for me. But yeah, that was pretty much the practice for me, and just writing it out, brain dumping all of my emotions and journaling, also helped me discover like how I really felt. And so I didn't have any kind of bullet methods or any like self-development methods for my journaling. It was more like a diary where, if you read my diary, you'll see me saying some things like, life is so good. Thank you to my angels for guiding me and bringing me this life and showing me the way. And then, 2 days later, you can read it and it'll say, I effing hate this person. She's so selfish. I hate living. So I just being really vulnerable with myself and journaling. It was like very uncomfortable, but we all have these emotions, especially in the past. I had them a lot. So just allowing myself to, don't think about if anyone's going to read this. Don't think about any thoughts. Just say what I have to say as if I had someone safe to say it to. And at that point, it was just paper. So those are the practices that help me be me and help me get to a better state where I know how to process my emotions. I know how to think about my emotions. And I'm okay with being sad. I'm okay with being anxious sometimes, and it's all part of the process of being a human. And I don't regret anything in life. I don't hate anything that has happened to me. And I see it as like things are happening for me, not to me. And anything that I went through in life, whether it's with my stepdad or anything like that, it was to build up my character or to at least get me to this moment right now. For example, I wouldn't be on this call. I wouldn't be making videos, nothing like that, if all of the things in my life didn't happen. And so I see them as lessons now, like whether it's conflict or getting fired from a job or being manipulated, I see them as a way to strengthen myself and strengthen who I am and to teach me more and help me help teach other people too and share that information with other people too. So I'm happy with my past, I'm happy with my life, and I'm happy with my future because it's just like a story. I see life like a story and I'm in charge of it. And once you change the context of things that has happened to you and how you see it, it gives the power back to you. So that's pretty much the practice that I'm at now with like, this is great, this is meant to be, and it's just going to keep me going.
Yeah, so I love how you said that, like, you have to be quiet. And I feel like a lot, like, for me being a stay-at-home mom, like, I'm just by myself. Like, all I have is my kids, and like my kids barely talk, like, so like I'm very in a quiet space, so I can totally relate to what you mean, being able to hear your thoughts. And I feel like the whole point we're here on earth is to find our purpose. But there's so many distractions. Like, it's kind of like a game, right? Like, you need to like find out what your purpose and goal is in life, but there's so many distractions trying to like steer you away, or like you said, just keep you distracted. So you have to like notice those things, and it's kind of like a game. And, in order to get to the next level, you need to pass the level that you're at. And so every level, there's a new devil. Like, every level, there's going to be something else that's going to challenge you that you need to overcome. It's kind of like the little Mario game. Like, there's like the little things that you have to beat.
I love that. Every level, there's a new devil.
Every level, there's a new devil. So, yeah, so there's just so many distractions that we need to like just focus on our goal. And it's, and then going back to what you said about like the, being happy and being sad, just knowing that that's a part of life. A lot of the times we think like, when I'm successful or when I'm rich, like I'm going to be happy and everything's going to be good. But like, no, like problems is a part of life, because that's the only way you grow. That's the only way that you get uncomfortable. And oh man, I was going to say something else.
Yeah, and just like being in that space of like, they're going to learn their lesson, they're going to wish they did better, like just being in that state where like, oh, they're going to regret leaving, they're going to regret being mean to me when they see me. Revenge. It's just like, why even that, being in that state, like, it sucks. It's still anger. It's still like a lower energy. Yeah. You know what? And I don't want to be in that state. Like, I think everyone's great. I think we all have the capability to create our lives. And I don't want to care if someone regrets treating me this way and that way. I want to forgive them, and I don't want to live my life with a chip on my shoulder or something to prove. I don't want to prove myself to, like, if I have a boyfriend, I don't want to have to prove myself to his family, even at that level. I want to be myself, be authentic, and if people like me, they like me. And then another sense is I don't want to prove myself to a job or to a best friend. Like, I want to be me, and I don't want to do things out of spite or out of revenge or out of this need to be heard or to be seen or to be right. Even if I know I'm right or things like that, it's just like, outside sources, people are going to believe whatever they want to believe based off of their belief system. And those belief systems come from the same thing ours do, which is their friends, their families, their past experiences, their childhood. And those beliefs can be like racism, they could be sexism, they can be how a relationship is formed. And we really can't control other people. And so it's funny because when I was in high school, when I was experiencing like really bad anxiety and anger, people in my school, there was like a lot of rumors going around, even amongst the teachers, saying that I was like on drugs. So people were saying that some people would say that, oh, I think she's like a thief. She still thinks that. Sometimes I would come to, my mom was a couponer, so I would ask her for some of the things she would coupon and I'll sell it in school. And people say, oh, I think she's stealing this stuff. And then people say I'm a drug addict. So people would try to, I don't know, just like things that weren't true. People are always going to put what they believe is true on us. And that's just, really, it's just them. And it has nothing to do with us. So it's a process of continuously coming back to who do we think we truly are. And I think that we truly are basically love. Like that's all we are. We're basically just kids. Love. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's just coming back to who we really are. And I would say that's like the same energy as like little kids. Until the world told us what we are supposed to be and how we're supposed to act and what's right and wrong. And it's at no one's fault. It's just the normal way that humans exist. It's like they have to put labels on things. They have to, it's just like this thing. And for me, when a kid's young, for example, it's like a process of human domestication. So when a kid is young, for example, and let's say they play instruments or they get really loud and their parents tell them, hey, you're kind of a loud kid, or maybe they are super smart, right? Let's say this kid is a smart kid and they play with rockets or something like that, something very creative or scientific, and their parents tell them, you're a smart kid, you're a genius, over and over again. That kid's going to grow up thinking, I'm a genius, I can do anything. Or maybe their parents constantly, or their friends constantly tell them, yeah, you are a genius, you ask a lot of questions. So they have that personality, that belief that I am a genius, I ask a lot of questions, and they go around life showing that mask, like I'm asking a lot of questions. Or someone tells their kid, you're kind of ugly, I don't like your hair should be like your brother's, things like that. Then the little girl grows up thinking, oh, I don't like my hair either, I like this type of hair. So these like little beliefs that people tell us, we take those beliefs and we see them as true, and we domesticate ourselves with them, meaning that these people don't even have to be around anymore for us to see those things anymore. We just constantly repeat it in our minds, whether we're aware of it or not, and that's how we go around life. And so for me, the biggest pivotal point is not only the Toltec philosophy books, not only the nature walks or the silence, it's also like remembering, okay, what are all the things that people told me I am? What did I believe? And what do I now realize is not true about myself? Like, people told me all the time I was a shy kid, so it's possible that I just kept wearing this mask of being the shy kid and eventually just got bad. But no longer, I don't want to be the shy kid anymore. I don't want to be the awkward kid anymore, and I also don't want to be the smart ass. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be the entrepreneur. Like, I am an entrepreneur, but don't label me as just that, and so I just want to be me, and that's going to change over time, and I don't know.
Yeah, so people need to get rid of labels, because it's kind of like how you said, like, babies, they're not born knowing anything. So if someone's racist, it's because their parents taught them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we've been on here for like a little minute, and I don't want it to get too long. My iPad's going to die. But one last question that I want to ask you is, have you ever had sleep paralysis before?
Yeah, I have.
I don't know why, but I just kind of felt the spirit wanted me to ask you that. And
why? What's your take on like sleep paralysis?
So sleep paralysis, from what I heard, is demonic attack. And I know like you're very big into like spirituality, and like I heard you talk about like angels and like maybe, I don't know if you believe in like ancestors and things like that. But from what I heard is like demons can actually transform into a familiar spirit. So people think it's their ancestors or something like that, but it's like they're somewhere in the Bible that they're able to be like familiar, they kind of like transform. And because it's kind of like when people, like, let's say in the Catholic Church, they like idolize like Mary or Joseph or all these people, but they were regular humans, so they're dead. Like, they're not like they're not like, well, everyone has their own personal belief, what I'm saying? But I feel like it's really important to like just seek the higher power and kind of like ask those questions. Ask those questions for yourself, and not like just believe like what people see on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? Like, because people like put a lot of power into like crystals and rocks, and I feel like yes, all of those things are real, like manifesting things like that. But I feel like those like new age stuff kind of just like takes God out of the center of it. And because I feel like I've manifested things, but like I feel like now I'm giving myself the credit instead of giving God the credit, which is the creator of me and the universe.
Yeah. I like that. I like what you said. I think you're right about the sleep paralysis being some sort of demonic attack, and I definitely have seen it that way. And from my belief is that when you're moving towards something that's light, like when you're moving towards God or whatever people believe in, like there's so many different words, but like when you're moving towards God, or if you're on a path of wanting to be closer to God or whoever people believe in, you find that people are attracted to that light and to that love, or to that wanting to be whole again, or wanting to be in love again. And when I say in love, I mean like in love with life, and in love with what God has given you. And so I feel like those type of energies, those dark energies, are attracted to that. They just want to eat you. They want to take it away because they can't have it. And that's whether that's because they became whatever they are, or maybe that's how they always been. I don't know the whole nature of all that, but I agree that there are demonic attacks, and I don't have them anymore. And I kind of just released that fear, and it only happened to me 2 or 3 times, but I agree. Like there's like a lot of different methods of people getting to the same place. And I guess for me, the place that I want to go is heaven, but on earth. Like I want to be in a state of acceptance. Like
Gratitude.
Yeah, like even like let's say I got married, a happy marriage, and it ended in divorce. I want to, have my grieving time and be sad, but I also want to be, I don't want to be hateful. I don't want to be, oh, he's going to regret it, she's going to regret it. I want to be sad for a little bit, accept it, and be at peace with my life and not feel any anger. Like I don't want to let those,
kind of like how you said, like everything is for you, not for you. And I believe that so much. Like everything is like, even like when I look back at things that were like bad, I realized like, wow, like because I went through, like if I would have never went through that, then I would never be here where I am. So like everything has, there's never losses, only lessons.
100%. I agree.
So, like we're gonna wrap it up, because I also know that you got like some other stuff on your calendar to do. But is there anything that that's on your heart that you want to say to the people before we
Oh wow, thank you for this opportunity to say that. Let's see. I would say just like sorry, I'm a little sick. I would say that a lot of times people are operating, the device will come after the sentence, but a lot of times people are operating out of a place of apathy, which is, I can't do this, it's not possible, things aren't possible. But if you want to be a happier person, it's a journey. If you want to be a more peaceful person, or if you want to have less anxiety or less depression, and I think this starts with you realizing that you're the creator of your life, and that life is like a canvas and you're the artist. And that's what the word Toltec means. And that's why I study Toltec philosophy, because it's all about realizing that you are the creator of your life. So just know that all of these things that you think you can't do, whether it's like, I can't be happy, I can't get up and do this, I can't get this job, or whatever it is. And I'm mainly talking about emotional based, like anxiety and depression, but this can apply to all areas of life. Just know that this is your world, and you're only looking out of your eyes. So just choose what you want to see. And my advice would be to choose to see what you do have, and don't focus on what you don't, and choose to see opportunities, and don't let anger get in your way. Don't let fear get in your way, and don't let jealousy get in your way. So
yes, that was so good.
That's it.
And last thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have dreams? Like crazy dreams?
Like dreams at night, or like aspirational?
I'm saying like at night.
I have dreams. I have really vivid dreams.
Do you have like prophetic dreams?
I feel like everything is a message. So even if my cat jumps on my face right now, I'll take that as some sort of message. But I would say some dreams can be like, in a way, prophetic. And I think everyone can receive those type of dreams. So I don't think it from a space that anything special about me, but I do think that God just wants to tell us.
Well, I feel like each person has their own different calling.
Yeah.
Like there's people who are called to be like, us, like who like to like create content and like to talk and like to give our advice. But there's other people who don't really like that. Maybe there's other people who are like more creative. I know you are also creative.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other people like, each person has their different calling and it has their different purpose, you know? So
Yeah,
I don't know, I just wanted to ask you that because you seem like kind of
I
like
do.
you have like these dreams and you seem very
Yeah, I
creative.
have like these really interesting dreams, and it's not every night, but when it is something that I'm aware of, I'm pretty much now at the point where I'm able to like navigate myself in my dreams where it's not completely lucid, where I never realize that I'm dreaming, and I think that's what lucid dreaming is, but I think it's real, and I'm able to make the decisions and change my dreams up and go places. So I'm grateful that I have this kind of like ability to
That's cool because I can't
no,
do
yeah,
that.
it's a blessing because
I barely get
oh
dreams.
man, I mean, we'll talk about that, and I'll talk to you about that another time.
Yeah,
But
because you gotta like end it up in my
oh
iPad.
no, oh no. Well, yeah, I'll just say that having those scary dreams and sleep paralysis is what taught me to gain control in my dreams. But messages and dreams come in the form of animals and certain events. So a lot of times when I see a certain animal or something comes up to me, I go ahead and I do my research to see like what does this mean, and it usually does correlate. And so we'll definitely talk more about it. So don't worry.
Yeah. So okay, so what's your Instagram so that way people can follow you and anything else that you have going on that you
Yeah, I'll just spell it out. It's Nawal Kayla. Well, now it's Kaya, but it's Nagualkaya. And then the rest for TikTok and YouTube is Kayla. But yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna like tag her in the description below. I'm gonna tag her on my Instagram
Thank
story,
you.
so everyone's gonna like see it. And yeah, she has a YouTube channel and on her Instagram, so make sure you guys follow her. She's always posting like insight, like mindset and nature and things like that. So thank you guys
Thank you.
so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And make sure that you guys download the podcast and also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Daisy One.